So now let's get into section 6.2, which is talking about the difference between real and nominal GDP. So we talked about GDP in general, so now let's actually measure these things. Okay, so the nominal is going to be the basically not adjusted for inflation. So it's just like, what is it now? Okay, it's the economic statistic that is actually announced at that time. So basically, what is the current production, so current quantity, at the current prices? Like, what is it right now? Okay, that's what we're doing with nominal GDP. Current quantity times the current price. The real value is going to be the economic statistic that has been adjusted for inflation. So basically how that goes is you still want what you're making in that year. So you still want the current quantity, but now you want things at the base year price. Very important here, base year price. That's what we want. Because the base year is the year where the prices are basically where they've gone from here. Like, so for instance, 2012 is the real value that we use. So everything that we like to use right now is in 2012 dollars. So how much was the value of something in 2012, right? Those prices, but in today's quantity. That's really what we're trying to do here. So as you can see here, real GDP will be greater than nominal GDP, everything before 2012. And this is because your 2012 dollars are worth more. So basically you have that quantity, and then your dollars are worth more because they're 2012 dollars, right? And then everything after that, right? Everything after 2012, nominal GDP is going to be more. Now this distance here, that has to be the extra in the prices, right? So because you're using the current prices, the distance there has to be that distance in price, the difference in price. Okay? The real value is more important, and the real value is more important because of this. If we're trying to focus on economic growth, which is actually producing more stuff, nominal GDP could be very misleading. For example, okay, if we were to calculate nominal GDP, all we're going to do is the current quantity times the current price. So in this case, we're just going to go straight across. Okay, you would do 1 times 10 plus 2 times 20. All right, and that should be 50. Okay, now that's the GDP in that year. And if you're wondering, is this what GDP is? Very similar, right? Because what are we doing? We are looking at the consumption, right? You bought this much for this price, consumption. So 50. The other one will be 2 times 20 plus 4 times 40. So that'll be 200. And then finally we have 3 times 30 plus 60 times 3. So that'll be 90, 180. So that'll be 270. So here's the deal. In terms of GDP, okay, did you produce more stuff? Yes, we did, right? We went from 10 apples to 30 apples, 20 oranges to 60 oranges. Very good, okay? We did produce more. However, is it $220 more? Right? Because look, if we went from 50 to 270, is that extra increase in GDP $220 worth? See, that's the difference here. So nominal GDP, you know, it's like, well, how much of it was from production? That's like, we don't know that. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to calculate the real GDP. Okay, because with the real GDP, we can figure out what was the actual increase in production. Okay, so let's do that. So we'll do one. So in order to do that, we need the base year price. So let's say 2020 is our base year. Okay, so we're only using the prices here. We'll only use $1 and $2. Okay? So we'll do 1 times 10 and 20 times 2. If you're wondering why is it the same, well, because we are looking at the real GDP, which is the current quantity for 2020, times the base year price, which is also 2020. All right, so it'll be the same. It should be 50. Now, for 2021, you're going to take the quantity times the base year price. So you'll do 20 times 1. And then for oranges, you'll do 40 times 2. So that'll be 80. So now you do 100. And then finally, you'll do 30 times 1 and 60 times 2, which is 120. So that'll be 150. So the real GDP is going to be 50, 100, and 150. The magic here is basically if we were to look at the prices from 2020, how much of an increase are we having in production alone, right? Because beforehand, right, you were producing more, but you also were inflating, right, the GDP because of the prices. But when real GDP comes in, it's like, hey, here are the prices. Are you producing more or less? That's what it is. And here, we said before, you are producing more. You're going from 10 to 30 apples. So you are producing more, and now we know how much more it is, 50 to 150. Okay? So that's the difference between nominal and real. Nominal is going to be the current, I like to write it like this, is going to be the current quantity times the current price. Real GDP is going to be the current quantity times the base year price. Very important that you, so I like to circle the base year prices so I don't get confused, but that's the idea. Okay, you only multiply by the base year prices. So for all the ones that we were using in the past, like in real life, we'll use the 2012 dollars. So the prices from 2012, that's what we'll use. Okay. Now, we will learn about the GDP deflator. And the whole point about the GDP deflator is basically you're able to look at how much of the GDP, how much of that increase in the nominal is because of prices. Because GDP deflator is price level. Basically, this number will tell you what are the level of prices in the economy. Are they going up? Are they going down? Right? It's going to let you know how are prices doing over time. Okay? And all we're going to do is the nominal GDP divided by the real GDP multiplied by 100. Okay? That's all you're going to do. Okay? So we calculated both. We did the nominal and the real. You're just going to you're going to divide those, multiply by 100. So that'll be 50 divided by 50 times 100. So that'll be 100. Then you'll do 200 divided by 100 times 100. So that'll be 200. And then you'll do 270. Oh, 270 divided by 150 times 100. And again, I'm not a mathematician. 270 divided by 150 is 180. Okay. Now, because this is an equation, you could use algebra to also figure this out. So basically, if I gave you the deflator was 80, and I give you the nominal was 100. No, let's do this. Let's do 200. We could also figure out the real GDP. All we did was just move this around, we divided by 100, multiplied by the real. You know, like all we did was just move this around using algebra. Okay. All right, and so the real GDP in this case should be 200 divided by 80 divided by 100, so that should equal 250. Okay, and if you're wondering, is that the case? Maybe. Let's go over here. This is 80. Then we have nominal, which is 200 divided by x multiplied by 100. So we'll divide by both sides by 100. We will multiply by x on both sides, and we'll divide this, so that'll be 0.8 x is equal to 200 divided by 0.8, so x is equal to 250. If that math is too complicated for you, don't worry. Here's the formula, okay? Focus on that. Just worry about this. That's the main thing. Nominal divided by real will give you the deflator. So, that's what we do, right? So we'll take the nominal GDP, and we could use some algebra to figure out the real GDP, right? But that's what we're doing. Nominal divided by the real times 100, that is the deflator. Okay. What you'll also notice is that whenever you're in the base here, it's always equal to 100, because it's 150 divided by 150 times 100, so it's always going to be 100 for your base here. So we did all of that, okay, to get to here. We want one of those goals, right, was economic growth. So how much did we grow? Well, there are a couple ways we could solve this. We could do the nominal growth minus inflation, or, right, you could do the new minus old divided by old. You can also do that, okay? So if I wanted the growth rate from 2020 to 2021, right, well, my new is 100 minus 50 divided by 50, new minus old divided by old, that should be 100%. So you had a 100% growth rate here. And now let's do it again. We'll do new minus old divided by old, and that should be a 50% growth rate. Good job. Okay. Now, when I was talking about the nominal minus inflation, well, what we'll do is we'll take the nominal, we'll do the same idea. So 200 minus 50 divided by 50, and that should be 300%. Okay. So if, like, the economists do the GDP part, and then we have statistics do the inflation part, we'll come together and we'll say, like, okay, we have 300% nominal growth, and they'll say, okay, we have 200% inflation. So real is 100%. All right, so that's how this formula would work out. But in general, I like this one right here. Nominal is equal to real plus inflation. So in this equation here, right, we know it's 300%. And we know the real is 100%. So that means the inflation is 200%. The main things I really want you to understand on this one is the growth rate. Is that new minus old divided by old, right? So that is the growth rate. That's the percent change. Okay, and then I also want you to know that nominal is equal to real plus inflation. Very, very important formula there. Okay, so you'll go on to section 6.3. All right, it's gonna be fun. I'll see you there. Bye.